He was born in Opelousas, Louisiana. He was preceded in death by his mother, Elizabeth, and his father, Arthur. He is survived by his sister, Anne, who lives in Tucson, Arizona. Peter Arthur Espree was a guitarist, a singer, a songwriter. He performed for the U.S. troops overseas with West the Power Trio. Many years, for 20 years, and he later formed the group VCR. Now, as I look over this audience today, I see a lot of my friends and VC's friends as well. Some of you have played on the same stage with VC. I have been able to do that a couple of times. And each time it was very much a joy to play with VC because he had a spirit about him. And if you knew him or sat and talked to him for very long, you would find out that he had 3 words that he lived by: grace, respect, and wisdom. He will be missed by many friends all over the world, and as well as here in Colorado Springs. He was known as the Voodoo Child, thus that's where BC came from. So I was looking on the internet and someone put on there, very cool. I thought, yeah, that's him. That's BC I know, very cool. Today we gather together because we cared about him and we will miss him. Dying on the cross, Christ destroyed our death as humans. Rising 3 days later, he restored our life. Christ will come again in glory. Here and now, we are all God's children. What shall be has not been revealed to us yet. What we are going to become after this life, we do not know yet. It's not revealed to us. For we shall see him as he is. Those who have hope purify themselves in the Christ that is pure. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life.
Yes, I am.
Believe in me, even though thou die, thou shalt live. And whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I am Alpha, Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Because I live, you shall live also. Let us pray. Our Father and our great God who gave us this life, you know our needs before we even ask you. Give us now your grace, that as we shrink before the very mystery of death, we may see the light of eternity. Speak to us once more your solemn message of life and death. Help us, Father, to live as those who are prepared to die, so that living or dying, our life may be in you, and that nothing in life or death will separate us from your love. The Bible says many wonderful things about death. We think of death as an end to all things, an end to our life, an end to our joy, an end to the things that we are accustomed to doing every day as we live. We think of death as a monster that comes to cut off all of our joys. Let me take you just for an instant, just for a minute. Suppose you were in a prison and you were being persecuted. You were being beaten. And they brought you dry, stale bread every day to eat. And you'd sleep on a cold, wet floor. Suffer, your body would hurt. You'd be in pain. Suppose your friends came along and rescued you. They took you to a place of rest. Good food. Happiness. And if you played a guitar, maybe they let you play a guitar. If you played a harp, maybe they let you play a harp. If If you beat a drum, maybe they let you beat a drum. Would you call these your friends that saved you? Absolutely. That's how we need to look at death. We ought to look upon death in that way because we live in a cruel world, whether we believe it or not. This world has many hardships, many injustices, many trials and tribulations for each one of us to go through. We shed many tears. We hurt. Through sorrow, we have sorrows and separations. And now when death comes to take us into the presence of the Lord, where we shall have perfect health and rest, wouldn't you say that death is, after all, a good friend? I would. We look upon death as an enemy, but really death takes us to a better place. We can't understand the whys and hows of death, but we do have this wonderful promise from God. John chapter 14 says, "Let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you may be also." One day, we are going to go to the other side, and we're going to be able to see DC again. I'm saying that I believe that one day he's up there at the choir in heaven. I'm going to go there one day, and hopefully he's got a guitar tune that I can play. Don't you think? Maybe there's even a harp for you, Rooster, when you get there. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a bass, John, that you could play in God's choir when we go to the other side. It's not the end. It's just the beginning. So today, I'll miss my brother BC with all my heart, and I know as well as you do. But we're going to see him again one day. This song that I'm going to sing is called "Consider the Lilies." then you will know. Consider the lilies. They don't toil, they don't spin, and there's not a king with more splendor than they. Just consider the sparrows. They don't plant, they don't sow, but they're fed by the Master who watches them grow. And we have a heaven up above, with eyes full of mercy and a heart so full of love. He really cares where you're headed. Friend of mine who hangs out all the stars in the sky, tells the sun when to shine, and he kisses all the flowers every morning with his dew. He's never too busy to care about me and you. We have a heavenly Father above, with eyes full of mercy and a heart so full of love. And he really cares where you're headed. It's bowed low. Consider then you will know. Consider then you will I went to a place where BC was playing one night and sitting out in the audience. He started making fun of the way I talked. He came in and he said, "Where you from, boy?" I said, "I'm from Louisiana. Where you from?" He said, "I'm from Louisiana too." I said, "No kidding." He said, "How you say runt?" I said, "Runt?" We had a big deal that night, and actually the place got kind of upset at us because we were making jokes about how we say, if you ruins your clothes. If you wash them, you'd just be ruined. And he thought that was the coolest thing coming from me, you know. But we're going to have some speakers that knew VC a lot better than I did. And so, Ron Wesley, where are you at, sir? Please come up here. Oh, this. Come up here.
Thanks. Well, hi, y'all. A few things I jotted down. We got together here. Hopefully, we won't be here for an hour and a half. But, you know, we can hang, right? Well, what a journey. You know, this whole thing, when I was asked to come in today, is like, how do you sum up 37 years in 5 minutes? It's just difficult. And I'm going to do the best I can. Being in a band's like being married. You know, a relationship. You do life together. So that's what we did for the time we were together, and I'll give you a couple highlights. This journey began with BC in 77. 1977, we met in a record store in Houma, Louisiana. And when we were introduced to each other as musicians, that's all it took. We were fast friends right then and there. And at the time, BC was going by Peter Espree, his given name. And he was working for Xerox as a repairman along the Louisiana coast and offshore oil rigs fixing the Xerox machines. And funny thing about it is, when you do that, the machine has to start working again that day, or they have to close the rig down. And you know how that would mean if he didn't get the machine working by 5 o'clock, he had to spend the night out there on the rig, and he didn't want to do that, and he never did, as far as I know. But he'd tell stories on how to get him out there by boat or helicopter, and sometimes the seas would be rough, and they'd pick him up in a crew basket off the boat, and he had to time his jumps with a 75-pound toolbox. And jump him up, the net picks him up and lowers him on the rig, and vice versa, because the boat would come up and meet the net. So he had to just step off, just like in the cartoon, stepping off that crashing elevator. He had to time his steps. So it all with a 75-pound toolbox. But shortly after we met, we started writing songs, recording. He had a TDAC 4-track reel-to-reel, and started writing songs and playing and figuring out how to do these instruments that were in our hands. And right after that, we started a band called West. It stood for Wesley, Espree, and Stassi. A friend of ours, John Stassi, in Houma. We played a couple of times, and it was good for a minute. Then things changed, of course, in about 2 years. And then I got offered to go on the road with another band called Anthology, anyway. And he gave me a $100 bill to make sure I had something to get home if I needed. And with his blessings, he said, go learn how to be on the road, and how to do this and how to do that. And in the meantime, I'll do the same on my end. And I did that for 14, I don't know when it was. But in 89, I should say, sorry. We talked on the phone, and it was time. We'd both gone through enough stuff, and it was time. So he moved up here. I called him a little before Thanksgiving, and he said, I'm on my way. So he packed up everything, sold what he had and whatever, and moved up here and got here like a day or two before Thanksgiving in 89. And then we started the band a little after that. And February 1990 at the Deluxe Tavern, where we had the first gig. And we survived the gig. And it was exciting. It was an experience I never had. And by September of that same year, we were off to Japan for the first time. for 3.5 months, and then that started that 19-year journey of finding every corner of the world to play in for whoever would have us. And along the way, we recorded 5 albums and released 4 of them, and just found ourselves in Korea and kind of almost made a home there, or did make a first and second, third and fourth home there over those years. And then we played, we pulled it off, and with his wisdom, got to Europe and played the concert clubs and blues festivals there. And I tell you, it was a trip. It was several lifetimes, all wrapped up in that 37 years. You know, people ask, well, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? Well, the first time we got, in first place, getting to Germany was his fault. When he showed up and we started the band, he says, our vision is Europe. I went, okay. So we were setting up for a gig at a club down on Pikes Peak, and he was wearing his Jägermeister t-shirt. I'm sure a lot of y'all remember some of the Jägermeister stories. And a couple walked by and saw him wearing that shirt. They came in, bought us around the Jaegers, which I wasn't really crazy about at the time, and said, when you come to Germany, come stay with us. And you're welcome to come, and that's what we did. And through that, we met other folks, and the European side just opened up. We just, through just God's will and blessings and his knowledge and just luck, we got plugged in there and just started playing, sitting in everywhere we could sit in, kicking on doors. Sometimes we had to kick the door down. You know, I'm sure he said some things like that, the troubles we had, and just being different. And just managing to survive a lot of the traps that were set for us, I'll say. Shouldn't say that, but it's true. And just the difficulties and the challenges we had, which made us stronger as a band, stronger in our journey together, and tighter as a band. And as a band, Paula can agree to that. We would argue like brothers do, but it was always for the positive. But we were brothers, and we survived a lot of things. You know, 7 head-on collisions in Korea, you know, planes almost falling out of the sky, planes doing all kind of flips and stuff with us, driving down roads where snipers were, and just being in places we shouldn't have been, doing things we had to do, should have not done, all of those other things. It was always fun, you know, just from living in connexes, stacked 3 high, to 5-star hotels here and there, doing what we had to do, and always looking for a place to play. He was always on the hunt for a place to play and way to share the music, and just working on how to do that little extra there, a little extra to make us stand out, and playing more and more and more, sometimes 6 hours at a shot without a break, and we got pretty good at that. Real strong bladders, maybe that's why he had bladder problems. That was his dream and his goal and his life. You know, he had a tremendous, tremendous influence on everybody. In his life. I'll hold it together. Great business sense, which got us to those places with money, and was able to eat, and we could eat. You know, the 127-piece bucket of chicken was our favorite. You know, with all of us, we could all put away some food, including Paul. And it was just a great run. Thank you. You witnessed. We grieve, but not like we have no hope. See him again. Thanks.
All right, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Paul.
Well, I didn't get started in the early stages of Ron and BC's band, but I did come in later stages for 14 years, which surprises me. My biggest memories from him is the opportunity that he gave me to really pursue a music career. And showed me the benefits and fruits of hard work. And he also he was a musician, singer, guitarist, and brought the true meaning of entertainer to what we did. And I will definitely have that in my heart. Sadly missed. It's hard to believe it's been 20 years for me personally. Thank you.
John C. John. Kevin. John C.
First of all, this is not going to be easy. Thank you all for coming out, showing your love for BC. I also like to thank a lot of people that called me, because obviously they were out of town and had important previous commitments. They couldn't make it, but they did call. They did remember that it was today. I knew BC for over 21 years. I remember when I first met him, and we hit it right off. And like Ron said earlier, you guys were touring all the time. I was in a band that was on the road all the time, so somehow we'd catch up here. You know? There's always BC, Ron, and whatever white boy drummer with electronic music. And I never knew the white boys too well, I don't know what. But I knew you occasionally, and I loved your bass playing. I was crazy about BC's voice, and we always seemed to know what each other was thinking. You know, through the years, we had that friendship going on. And I didn't see him for a little while. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought he was on the road again. I caught up to him at Benny's, where a lot of us met him or hung out with him. And I was just scared to death because I walked in here at CBC, and he's like half the size of what he was, and it just freaked me out. I walked up. I said, "What happened to you?" As BCNO, and I always did, we try to make light of everything to deal with it. So I made some bad jokes. He laughed. And I said, "When was the last time you had a good Louisiana meal?" It's been a long time. I invited him back to the house, cooked him up a nice meal. And we were pretty inseparable since that day. I mean, almost. We worked a lot together with 3 different bands all at the same time. He had me play a different instrument in every band, which was good for me because I was getting kind of lazy musically anyway. So that was good for me. And we watched a lot of football and listened to a lot of Richard Pryor. Always trying to outdo each other with our memory of Richard Pryor. And I know a lot of people are going to miss him. He left a huge hole in my life. Not just professionally, but he was more than a friend. I know a lot of people wouldn't even feel that way because he was that special to The gentleman said earlier, he was an incredible entertainer. Sometimes as musicians and performers, we're not 100% up. But if I was doing it with BC, somehow, if I was in it, he'd get me in the energy within 2 songs or vice versa. And BC was very young for his age. He was getting stronger every day from recovering from his health problem. He was very diligent and taking good care of himself, so it came as that much more of a surprise to me. And 6 weeks is not a very long time to forget someone like BC, because to me, he's pretty unforgettable. So, thank you all for loving BC and enjoying him. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Peggy.
Hi, I'm Peggy, and BC was, after my husband John, my very best friend in all the world, family. And I'm thinking a whole bunch of us here in this room today are saying that. Can I get an amen? Amen. I was also teaching BC Tai Chi and then yoga when it became clear he needed that too. He was good. BC was like a noodle, an uncooked one, I mean. Now, Tai Chi, one of the points is to bend your knees. So I was always hollering, BC, lower, bend your knees. And at his gigs, I was the one out there hollering, BC, lower, lower, BC, how low can you go? And that man could get down lower than any other musician I'd ever known. And when he was bad, I'd holler, downward dog, BC. And when he was really bad, I'd just flip him the bird because I could get away with it. BC touched so many lives. He cared about us, he listened to us, he advised us, encouraged us, and made every one of us a better performer. He saved us. And I have to tell you a secret. I learned more from him than he ever learned from me. BC sang to us partying songs, joyful songs, loving songs, sad songs, wild and crazy songs, even lullabies. BC held us. BC held us and rocked us with this guitar like our backbones was his own. He taught us to be confident and strong, and he taught us how to get back up off the floor from failure and be confident and strong yet again. Now I imagine maybe there's some soldiers in here today, and I bet BC sang to you too, either here or overseas. BC took you places with his music. BC took you home. Whether you were a soldier, or a bartender, or a telephone man, or a student, a waitress, had lost your job, just been dumped, or divorced, or if you're just sitting there with your honey drinking a beer, BC moved us all with his voice, with his guitar. He made your hips sway, your shoulders roll, our hands tap the rhythm of his songs. He made us dance, for better or worse. He made us sing, even when we slurred words. BC made us happy. Now there was a song BC and I would go round and round about. He thought I hated it, I did not. It was a song about help me, to cook, to clean. If you don't help me, I'll just have to find somebody else. Now I have no problem helping somebody with something he cannot do, but I've yet to meet a man unable to open a can of soup or wipe up a mess. Still, BC managed to get me to sew up all his torn canvas pants where the pockets would have big rips in them. BC collected stuff, heavy stuff, keys. I bet he still had every key he had ever owned. He kept everything close in hand, in his pockets, stuffing them till the stuff poured clean through the canvas. I would spend hours with my very delicate quilt sewing machine trying to keep the needles from busting before I mended the tears. Finally, with my machine smoking black smoke, I could sew his pockets no more. DC collected people in the same way. He never threw one away. Even if they ripped through his pockets, he might be deeply disappointed by a friend, but they were still in his collection. And that's what we all have in common here. BC found us, picked us up, saved us, and kept us close to him. So we gather here now in this room stuffed full of BC's friends, and BC is looking down at us, and if we're quiet, shh, we can hear him singing still. And continue to hear him in every song we sing, or hear, or dance to. Let's listen now and feel him in our hearts. BC, you may have left this earth, but in our hearts, you'll stay forever. We love you, BC.
And everybody say amen. Mr. David Day.
I wanted to go first because I didn't want everybody to make me cry. But I think I'll be all right. What I wanted to remember about BC was some of the things he said, a lot of the things he said. These are things he said to all of us, maybe individually, maybe collectively. Whenever I would see him in the greeting, he would always say, I'd say, how are you? And he would say, it's your girl. And this said a lot because he truly was interested in other people's lives. It wasn't just casual conversation. When you told him something, he remembered it the next time he saw you. He asked you about it. You know, he did collect people. He really did. When we would park, he would always say, I want to be like you when I grow up. And I always thought that was cool. Because what he was saying there was, he recognized when things were going well for you. And he wasn't jealous of that. He was truly happy when things were going well for you, for anybody. Another thing that he said to me a lot, Dave, you're not listening to me. I heard this hundreds of times. He wasn't really right. I maybe didn't hear him at the time, but when I would reflect, he would end up, it would turn out that he was right. It might take a couple days to see it. It actually reached a point where he was like my oracle, my personal seer. Because I would run a situation by him and he would tell me this is what's going to happen. And he was right 100% of the time. He was amazing that way. He wasn't a blues musician. He was just an overall musician. He was a troubadour. And he really understood the socialness of music. He understood what it was about. It wasn't about who was the best or who played what. It was just about the interaction. It was like Sunday dinner. And he really got that. He encouraged people to play. Even if you were a lower level player, he didn't really see that. He wanted to work with everybody. And he was really good at working with everybody and really good at encouraging, regardless of your level. He brought out the best in you. There was a few funny things that I wanted to relate to. But he started picking up the bass around the same time I started picking up the drums. And so we worked with each other on those things and this kind of stuff. And we used to host a jam together. So one afternoon, we were doing this jam. It was a Sunday afternoon thing. And I thought it would be funny to put him on the spot. And so I said, pick solo. And he did it. He didn't say anything about it. He did it. And then he said later on, something to the effect of what goes around comes around, but it wasn't quite that cliche. But there was a warning. And I completely forgot about it. then later on, Tracy says, why don't you take a spin on the drums, Dave? I was like, yeah, sure. I hop up and I'm on the drums, and DC gets up and he's on his guitar, and I'm settling in and I'm adjusting this and that, and he's tuning his guitar, and about that time he's getting ready to start the song, and I realized where I'm at and where he's at. And under my breath, really, I was like, oh crap. And he heard it psychically, I think, because he turned around and in that deep voice he said, oh yes. Yeah, so that was my first drum solo. Yeah. And he wasn't perfect like all of us. Sometimes we have issues, I say we, musicians, issues with club owners, managers, different things like that. Sometimes they can be ironed out, sometimes they can't. So I had BC filling in once because my guitar guy couldn't make it. We were playing a place on the east side. And I asked him, because my radar was kind of going off, and I said, you got a problem playing this place? And he said, no, it's cool. And I was like, okay. So we went out there, and we did the first set. The owner showed up afterwards, after that first set, and he saw him, and I kind of saw a look on his face, and we took our break, and he comes over, the owner comes over, and he says, where's Ryan? And I said, Ryan couldn't make it tonight. I says, do you know VC? I said, this is VC, he's filling in. And the owner slapped me on the shoulder pretty hard. And he says, I know VC. He says, he played here once. And I look over at VC, and for once, he's got nothing to say. He's looking at the ceiling, he's smiling, he's got this big grin, and he had nothing to say. That was the first time he had nothing to say that I knew. I never did find out what was up with that. One of the coolest things he ever said, and it wasn't anything he actually said, it was after the fall jam over here at Stargazers. We used to hang out all the time after we performed. We spent a lot of time hanging out in the parking lots of DC, talking. Hey, you're not listening to me. And so we're over here at the loafing jug. And we don't really have much to say. It's one of those times we just don't have a lot to say. We knew what we were going to say. And he just starts singing like a Garth Brooks song. And he's dancing. It's midnight, and he's in the circle of light from the street light. And he's just out there dancing. People are walking by, and nobody really even thinks nothing of it. And I'll always remember that. That was one of the coolest things. BC dancing in the parking lot. And there's one more thing that BC always said, and I know we all heard this countless times. I know that when BC crossed over and they opened up the pearly gates, and he walked in and he looked around at all the serenity and peacefulness, I know in my heart that he said, somebody better make some noise in here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dave. We're now got a recording of BC that we're going to play through the house.
right, y'all. Hope you like it, nothing but a joke. Well, you and I, we already been through that. And this is not our thing. That's how I'm talking so falsely now. That's how I did. Well, on along the watchtower, our princess kept the view. While all the women came and went, and there was service too. Outside in the wilderness, a wildcat growled. To ride world broken, the women get down. All along, all along, all along the watchtower, 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 the watchtower. Yeah.
Nance.
I wrote 4 speeches, and then I condensed them all into one. There's so much to say, so. How do you describe a multifaceted man such as VC? What comes to mind for me is pure platinum, 100%. A gemstone set in platinum. He embodied grace, gave everyone he met respect and encouragement, and simply inspired us to achieve our highest potential. He had the ability to make so many of us feel so very close with him, all the while maintaining a bit of mystery about his personal life. One conversation is all it takes to be affected by his presence, his intelligence, his understanding, his patience and worldliness. You just don't forget him. VC made one statement to me that any singer would have lived a lifetime just to hear. His words were this: Nance, just sing, just scat, just wail. I won't let you fall. We all have special stories about time spent with VC. His passing is yet another reminder that no one holds the keys. We're not able to control what's meant to be. And we are all meant to be touched by VC. Our time on this planet with each other is so limited, and to come across such an evolved human being is precious and rare. So VC, we are lifted by you. We celebrate you. We love you. I have a song for VC right now. child that's got his own. It's got his own. Yes, the strong get more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make great. Mama man, been dropped on me. God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. You've got lots of friends. Ooh, they come crowding round your door. When you're gone and all that spending ends, nobody seems to come around anymore. Rich relations give crusted bread and such. You can help yourself, ooh, but don't take too much. Mama man, Papa man, God bless the child that's got his own. God bless the child that's got his own. He's got his own.
Well, this is a traditional number that DC wasn't from New Orleans, but he was from Louisiana, down in New Orleans. The next two songs are part of the tradition of passage.
Just a closer walk with me. Oh, granted Jesus, hear my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Oh, let it be. Oh, let it be. Why am weak, but thou art strong? Oh, Jesus, keep me from all wrong. Oh, I'll be satisfied as long
heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself, and he will be their God, and he shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow, no more crying. For the former things are all passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write these words that are true and faithful. He said unto me, I am Omega and Alpha, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst the fountain of life, the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. Shall we stand? Bow your heads. Lord, at that moment, nothing seems to be able to help the loss that I feel. My heart is broken, and my spirit mourns. All I know is that your grace is sufficient. This day, this hour, this moment, I choose, Lord, to lean on you. For when I am at my weakness, your strength is strongest. I pour out my grief to you and praise you that one glorious day, when all suffering is extinguished and love has conquered, we shall walk together again. Everybody said amen. I'd like you to remain standing. John, let's close it out with when the saints go marching in. for coming. Amen. If you want to congregate somewhere, we'll meet out here, decide where we're going after. If you want to get together someplace else and visit and tell stories and remember BC. All right? Thank you.
Did you say we were going to congregate at? I don't know what's happening after.
How you doing? You ready for your trip?
So, I'm doing well. Certainly did VC a good honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's still on.
Hey, we'll see you later. Hey, Jackie. How are you?
See you. Oh, I'm doing well.
All right, how are you?
Yeah, well, his limit is, you get a limit back in the beginning. So, I can't remember.
Chris?